Former Vancouver Canuck and TSN hockey analyst, Mr. Frank Corrado. Frank, how are you?
I'm good, boys. What's going on?
Got Bedard in town tonight. Looking forward to that. Like watching them play. They have They came coming off a winning road trip. Frank got that game in Nashville.
Let's ask you your report card. They're a 7-7 team. They've got an injury list that is a mile long. They've played predominantly road games, and yet, we also saw a few games with them healthy at the start of the year in which they also did not look that great.
Yeah, we had the glass half full or half empty.
We don't know how to pin down this team. There's a lot of good reasons for why they're at. There's a lot of flowers that they should receive in some ways, but ultimately we sort of I want to tamp down some expectation of how good this team is even when fully healthy, but I don't know. Tell us what you have seen from this team that is maybe improbably 7-7.
I think that the 7-7 is quite optimistic on what they are as a team. They don't really jump off the page right now with the process of how they
with
play.
Anything. No.
The only thing that I can think of, and this is going to sound like a backhanded compliment, is they spend a decent amount of time in the offensive zone, but nothing really happens with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just
no difference makers there right now, right?
They're in the offensive zone. It's just it never really gets to the middle. Doesn't get to the middle very often. Doesn't look overly threatening, overly dangerous. But when push has come to shove, they've scored goals, and they've scored the timely goal. And most importantly than that, they've got excellent goaltending and timely saves. I think if you're trying to project and forecast where this team is going, it feels like at some point something would give and there would be more of a downturn just based on the quality and quantity of chances they give up and just the lack of what they produce. But for the time being, hey man, wins are wins. Not easy to win games on the road. I don't care who you're playing. Now Evander Kane has scored. You've got a young defenseman playing like Pettersson. I mean, we'll talk about it, but there's always that conversation is incredibly polarizing now. Maybe more than ever. But yeah, there's you're happy you get the wins, you're happy you got the timely goals, but the process is not exactly like a glowing indicator of this team being, a team to be reckoned with.
Process isn't great, not all that threatening. Puck doesn't get to the middle a lot. Granted, he missed 4 games, but in the 10 Quinn Hughes has played, Frank, like he hasn't been otherworldly. We're still waiting for the first superstar put on the cape performance from Quinn Hughes. What have you seen or not seen from him in the early going?
Well, first of all, I would say that it's not uncommon for a guy who does superhuman things to look human at times. It's just the reality. Like if you're watching Edmonton right now, you're kind of seeing it with McDavid and Draisaitl. A lot of hockey that has caught up to those guys. And with Quinn Hughes, he plays so much. He's so involved in the game at all times. I guess the thing right now with Hughes is when he's at his best, he's willing to be in every puck kind of confrontation and have it as much as possible. And it's not that he's shying away from it, certainly not the case. But when you're a guy who kind of lives and dies by being explosive with your feet, and juking guys and welcoming pressure and getting out of those turns, if you don't have that extra gear, like if you don't have the split second reaction, then you're not going to look superhuman the way he normally can. And the fact that he's missed time, and he's battled through stuff for a long time. Like he battled through stuff last year when it was a wrist, but that doesn't affect your feet. It's just the reality of these guys that they have such separating skill sets, but when that almost gets equalized a tiny degree, it brings you back down to the pack a little bit. Now, he's still an unbelievable defenseman. He's still going to make big-time plays, but that's just the reality of being a player like that.
We had a good discussion about your torchbearer yesterday, and if you missed last week's hit with Frank, Tom Willander is the first drafted and developed right-shot defenseman to play a game for the Vancouver Canucks since Frank Corrado. 4 games, a couple of high ice time games, a couple of lower ice time games. We wondered about whether he's seen Abby for the last time or because of his waiver ineligibility, whether that's still going to be a thing. But what have you seen from Willander? And I guess I'll just ask it simply. Is that an NHL defenseman right now?
It's an NHL defenseman. It's an NHL defenseman right now, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's done with seeing Abbotsford. It's just the reality of him being able to go up and down without waivers makes him the easy guy. And if ice time is going to be like what was it in the Nashville game, he's playing 10:52. Like 10:52 is not doing him much good at the NHL level. Like it's okay, but for a guy like that, you still want to prioritize having all the big moments and being out there a lot. But he's on the cusp of it. Like it really does feel like he's on the cusp. And for me, when your young third pair guy makes the jump to the NHL, I would like to see him play 15 minutes a night. I think that's a fair, like you're not giving him too much, but you're asking him to contribute and hold up his side of the deal, whereas 10-52 and there's differing reasons why that happens, special teams, weird face-offs, it's just the sometimes it's the way it all kind of shakes out. But 15 minutes a night and you're contributing, you can stay in the NHL, right outside of the numbers game and who's coming back and who has opportunities. If you're going to see that tail off, then it's probably better spent playing for Abbotsford, but he'll be a guy that comes up and plays. He looks confident, man. Like his assist that he has against Nashville, he's taking the puck around the net. He's making a play with it. It doesn't look like a guy that's holding back or afraid and just kind of out there to not make a mistake. So like he just, listen, they need him to be a guy. He's on his way to being a guy. But there might be a time where it gets crowded again and he goes back down, and that won't be the worst thing for him, especially if he's going to play 11 minutes.
There's, when the crowding happens from all these young players, does a rotation do anybody good? Or do they have to be in one place or the other more permanently, do you think? And that's if Mancini, Willander, and D-Petey are all available.
It's a lot of guys to have a rotation with, right? If it was one guy in, one guy out, and your young guy every once in a while has to come out, there's something to be said to being a young guy and playing a little bit and then coming out and going to watch up top, because what happens is you'll kind of put yourself back on the ice from the bird's eye view and say, okay, in that play behind the net, I had that play last game. I felt like I had more time. And now you're watching it happen from above and you're like, you know what? I did have more time. And it just kind of reassures some of the things that might be going through your head. And you can come back in and have more confidence. Now, sitting in the press box for 30 games, that's not doing it. Like that's, 10 games that you're not getting that effect. That is you've played for a good stretch. Maybe something has tailed off a little bit. Let's get you up top. We'll watch a game and then go back down. That's not the same, though, as a rotation where you're trying to get 3 guys in. I find that to be more difficult to negotiate. There's just a lot of stuff you have to juggle, right? Like, how do you keep everyone happy? How do you keep your team optimized as well? Eventually, you're going to like a pair and you're like, I got to give this runway because it gives me a better chance to win. So I don't see a scenario where like a true rotation works. But if you're telling me he's going to come out every once in a while and sort of get his eyes on things and go back in and see if that helps him, that's fine for a young guy. I don't have an issue with that.
This team was so high on D-Petey last year and crowned him to the point where he wasn't sent back for the AHL run, in fact, which I thought was surprising. And they sort of handed him a job. And now he's fine. Not worried per se, but it's been uneven for D-Petey. What do you think the treatment should be for a player like that who's still young, still can be sent without waivers down to the minors and all that? Like, yeah. What should they just let him ride it out and iron all this stuff out?
Well, so like the development curve is never linear. Like, you're just going to take your lumps, right? And this kid is what? He's like not even 50 games into his NHL career, and how many times have guys told you we don't know what a defenseman is, until it's 200 games, whatever. Like, there's no guarantee that you get 200 games, but he's obviously shown enough in the first 40 something games that you believe he can be a part of this for you, because like, he's a sturdy guy, he skates well, he's fine with the puck. Like, he gives you what you want out of that type of player. There's no red flags with him. So you get to a point where you're like, he's going to have to learn on the job at some point. And he more falls into that category for me than Willander, because Willander's game is going to have, it's going to be more all encompassing, right? Like he's
those two guys, Willander and D-Petey, are they in the coach's office a bit more than anybody else? Like, are they getting one-on-one coaching to sort of iron out? Yeah,
they should. Yeah, like young guys should. As a young guy, you should never have to go seek it out or say, "Yeah, I'm going to grab the iPad and watch my shifts by myself." Like, it's okay to get kind of spoon-fed a little bit at the beginning of your career, because these guys, you're invested in these guys, man.
Yeah,
right. Like, take an interest, and it's different when you sit down with the coach and watch some shifts, even if it's just a period, right? Like, it's all clipped. It's not like you're sitting there for an hour. No. You sit there for 8 minutes with the coach, watch your shifts. And you could feel like you're learning something about the game. Yeah, I mean, that's when I was coming up, it was like NHL is just a win now league and it's not a development league. That's changed. That is completely changed now. You got 18-year-old defensemen making the jump right away. You got 20-year-old guys that are the best forwards on teams now. The NHL absolutely is a development league now. So if coaches don't want to like adapt to that and adopt that mentality, then you're doing a disservice to your young players. So I absolutely agree. Like, these young guys, you need to try and grab them as much as possible. Don't overdo it. Don't
hover. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't hover. Give them room to breathe. But you gotta be willing to put in a little extra effort from the coach's side of things with these guys.
I want you to help us out on this, because you're so good on the X's and O's, and it's so Victor Mancini goes on a puck journey in preseason, tries to skate it through a couple of zones, and as we've talked about with Mancini, that's a fun sight when he does it. That is a very big man who's got pretty good wheels and pretty good hands to be doing that. After the game, Adam Foote says, "Yeah, well, we got to sometimes you got to rein that in a little bit." By the same token, and we've seen this a fair bit this year, Foote and his staff clearly want those defensemen pinching a little bit more than what we saw in the Rick Tocchet era, trying to keep that puck in, trying to create some offense from coming down off the blue line along the walls. Tell me why a coach would want defensemen pinching a little bit more off the blue line, but are a little more nervous about the defenseman trying to puck carry through a few more zones.
Because the defenseman pinching in is not necessarily making a play with the puck. He's trying to help keep it alive and is going to poke it to the forwards and is going to have a layer of protection or support from the centerman or the third player who's high in the zone. So you feel like you're insulated that way. When a defenseman who's not Quinn Hughes or Lane Hudson or Cale Makar, like, we know the guys. When it's not one of those guys, tries to do the, I'm going to skate it through guys and slice and dice through the neutral zone, you don't have your protection anymore, because you're carrying it up and everyone's waiting for you at the offensive blue line and everyone's had their motion. And now if you cough it up in that situation, it's an odd man rush the other way. So you can be more aggressive as a defenseman without the puck more than you can be with the puck, because you have a layer of protection.
So there's no rules for when, like, a defenseman has the puck on his stick with some speed and is crossing the red line for a forward to do the same thing as they would when the defenseman is pinching in an offense?
It doesn't really make any sense, because you're kind of counting on the defenseman, like the onus is on him to make a good play with it, and that play means we got to go north with it. We got to go towards the opposition's net. Like, there's some defensemen who, if you're a forward, you can pretty much figure it out. It's going to go D to D. He's going to take 3 hard strides. He's going to get to the red line, and he's going to try and ring it all the way around. So you can kind of plan your forecheck and go to the other side of the ice. But someone like Quinn Hughes is not doing that all the time. He might have something up his sleeve. So now you have to try and be prepared for a pass that might, come all the way across the blue line. And in both of those situations, what you're not doing is thinking, I've got to back this guy up and I've got to be his protection. It's just not, it goes against everything that coaches talk about when they talk about playing fast and playing north. It's just totally different. Now, just one quick one on that. Defensemen have the green light when a puck gets like bungled up in the offensive zone in the corner. Defensemen have the opportunity to do what's called a pre-pinch or sit on the winger. And what that does is it just allows you to not have to make it like a 50-50 play where you dive down the wall. It's like, I'm already here and I've established, and now we've really shrunk this ice in half to the point that like I'm a stick length away from anything. The pre-pinch is better than the pinch. Like the pre-pinch means it's a more high percentage play. So if you ever see one of these guys, just creeping down there slowly, puck gets bungled up, that's a green light special all the time.
Yeah. One more technical question for you, Frank. I meant to get to this last week, but Adam Foote got quite expansive in one of his answers last week about what he calls the mini-forecheck. And for those of you on visual platforms, we'll have this is Canucks news summaries that summarize what Foote was saying in bullet point form. So when a shot goes on net to either the weak or the strong side, the Canucks are good at forechecking. The defensemen are getting involved, trusting the reload. He explained that reload is when the forward backs up the defenseman before the defenseman even sees it. He said the defensemen were pausing in previous games, weren't trusting the forward to reload. Decipher all that for us. Tell us what they're trying to do there on what he calls the mini-forecheck.
So essentially, there's no guessing between the defenseman and the, high forward, like the
F3.
defensive forward, right? Like two guys are going to be in. There's one guy who's kind of like the protection layer, right? He's the guy who often gets the puck off a cycle in like that quiet little area of the ice, right? So there's no guessing. Anything that's like a spray off the goalie or that's like a dump in off the back wall and it's coming around either way, that is 100% not the forward's puck, and it's the defenseman's puck. And basically what's happening is the forward will just go right to the defenseman's spot, so the defenseman feels like he's got enough protection that it's just go. And if it happens to the other side, it's just go again. There's no guessing, is it the forward or is it me? Now, I've never heard mini forecheck before. Like, I'll be completely honest with you. I've never come across that, never played with anything like that. Like, that's a philosophy that's pretty standard, I guess. One thing that Rick Tocchet, was kind of known for is the skinny forecheck, where it's exactly what it sounds like. Instead of two forwards kind of going down the dots, to take away a D to D pass, the forecheck all of a sudden becomes skinny and it goes to one side of the ice, basically like cutting it in half. And then that means your defenseman also has a green light to go down. And that can have the effect of feeling like, there's one extra player on the ice because your forward is going to come back and cover for the D. It really just, all they've kind of done here is said that we're taking the thinking out of it. Defensemen are going, and if you're that third forward high, your number one priority, protect the D. And it's going to feel like we're skating down towards teams, not across the ice, where teams have more of an ability to make lateral plays on us.
Yeah, and
that's trusting the forwards to skate backward, Frank.
So
what do they tell you when you play defense? Don't trust the forward.
Yeah.
That's amazing stuff. You make us smarter on the X's and O's of hockey every week. I so enjoy hearing you explain it. You're one of the best in the business. Thank you for this, Frank, and have a good week. Catch up next Wednesday.
Okay, boys. You guys are the best. We'll talk.
Oh, so kind.